Alright, hey guys, welcome back to the video, and today I'm going to be talking about how to play Krauser in the Mercenaries. Pretty much kind of like a basic guide on how to play in every single map. I'm going to do more specific guides in the future. I'm also going to do some route guides for Mercenaries on the maps, kind of how to find stuff, all the items, and all of that. So go check out the channel. It might already be up, depending on what time you watch this. Regardless though, let's get to it. And I also did one for Luis, and I'm going to do one for pretty much every character. But I think Luis and Krauser are the more kind of unique guys who have a unique play style, right? So let's get right to it, okay? So just like Luis, when you first start out, obviously I suggest you go search for all the items, search for all the extra time, the green bulbs. Those are the most important, or green, spheres, balls, whatever you want to call them. Those are the most important things you want to get early on. Obviously, you do it early on because that's when the least amount of enemies are spawned and it's the easiest to get to. Again, I'm going to be doing route guides, and I'll probably link it down below in the comments once those are complete as well. But yeah, do your best to collect as many of those as possible, okay? And as much, ammo, health, all that in between, right? Depending on whatever map it is, all maps, you have to go do that, right? Next, with Krauser, you're gonna want to run around a lot. He's a runner. He's a track star. Okay, listen, he's really fast and he has a lot of health. He's very bulky and he's very proficient in melee combat. He is the most proficient out of all of the characters that we currently have. I don't know if Ada's gonna be as proficient, but she is still not in the game. Regardless, he is super proficient with the knife. Also, his knife is infinite. It does not lose durability. So therefore, you can use it forever. And I suggest you use it as much as you can. When it comes to actually just swinging his knife, he'll usually two to three tap every single basic unit. It's very strong. If you're in a close quarter situation, if you're trying to get out of it, just swing your knife will get you out of it. If it's only a single enemy, use your knife. You don't have to use any weapon, just use your knife. And also, obviously, melee kills give you time. So the more melee kills you do, the lot more time that you will have, and the better score you will get at the end, because the more time you have, it gets added towards the end, right? What's it called? He does not get flashed. Use your flashes. Obviously, like in the story mode, whenever he used to flash Leon, Paul's not like that, but when he used the flashbang on Leon, he would not be affected by it, but Leon would be. So it's very good to use your flash to flash huge groups of enemies, also bosses. So for the huge groups of enemies, you flash them and then use your melee. His melee kick, it has a very good AoE range, so if they're very close up together, you can get a couple guys with that kick and they will all die, and obviously melee will get you more time. And something with Krauser that is a little bit different than the other characters. He doesn't kill as fast as the other characters, but that is where the melee comes in to give him extra time. Because since you don't kill as fast, your time will actually deplete quicker, because kills give you headshots and all those type of kills. They give you more time added to your timer. So you need to make up for that with a lot of melee kills. But then again, his melee is super strong and he's very beefy. So don't be afraid to actually use your knife. It's very important. It's the core of pretty much his gameplay. Also, when it comes to bosses, if it's a singular boss that pops up, I suggest you take out the flash, throw a flash out there, run up to the boss while he's stunned, and just execute him. His knife will execute any boss, just like that. But if it's a double boss, this is where I suggest you save your power-ups. I save power-ups whenever I know the double bosses are coming, or the triple boss at the end. He will take care of all of that with his power-up. You want to kind of save it. His power-up does charge a little bit slower than most of the other characters. You can use it on big groups, but usually I just like to save it unless I'm really in a bad position. But usually you shouldn't be, because this comes to the next part, which is his bow. His bow is obviously an explosive tip bow, and with this bow, you should always prioritize running around, getting those solo knife kills on like the stragglers, the ones that are not near the group of everyone else. But whenever the enemies bunch up, you want to use your explosive bow to shoot them because that's what it's used for, and it's pretty much like a mini little grenade. Very precise, very good grenade. Most bosses, they only take like 2 or 3 shots of that bow if you want to use the bow. Then again, I think the flash plus the execute works a little bit better, and also his power up whenever there's multiple bosses. With that being said, don't use your power up until whenever multiple bosses come out, his power up doesn't last that long. So you want the bosses to kind of group up. You want them to start chasing you together so they're right next to each other. Because once you get into the power up, you're quite slow whenever you move. And what I suggest is, instead of using the dash ability with your power up, which takes up like so much of the bar, like if you dash, your power up's already almost done. I suggest you don't dash, in my opinion, unless it's the last second, because then, you know, the dash isn't going to cost you as much. But I suggest that you just use the swings, because they take up a lot less of, I guess, like you call it like the mana bar, the stamina bar, whatever you call it for the power up. So yeah, don't use the dash too much. Try to use the swing. Try to bunch up all the enemies together first, and then get in the middle of those enemies and use your power up, and then start swinging. That's the best way to use his power up. Next, also the SMG, it doesn't really do much damage. What I use it for, obviously, a couple things. So the SMG is very good. You know, you shoot a couple enemies in the head, and then you go for the melee kill while they're stunned. That's what it's good for. Also to shoot out Molotovs, to shoot off dynamite, whatever the enemies will carry. Shooting that obviously will do you good. That's what it's used for, but it doesn't really do much damage in terms of trying to mow the enemies down. Even the villagers in the village, which are like the lowest type of enemies, you're not going to be very successful if you're trying to use that SMG to actually kill the enemies. It doesn't do much damage at all. It's mostly used as like a utility weapon because his explosive bow does the most damage, and then obviously his knife that can't break will do the rest of the damage. And also with the power-up, you do take reduced damage. You can still take damage, but it's very hard to take damage if you're swinging. I think when you swing, you're kind of invulnerable. But I've seen if you don't swing, they kind of hit you from the back. You can still take damage. I'm guessing like that little like thing that pops out of like most bosses, like in the story, like that pops out of their back. I think your back is also vulnerable whenever you are in the power-up. But it's actually quite hard to take too much damage during that. But yeah, that's pretty much how you use Krauser. You just have to, you know, run around a lot, put them into groups, shoot them with the arrows, use the SMG and the knife combo to get a lot of melee kills. His melee is super strong. If it's single enemies, or even if it's like 2 or 3 that are kind of lined up in front of you, you can take them out with just your knife. Really, he's very strong when it comes to his knife. And for the heroes, if it's a double, for the bosses, if it's a double boss, triple boss, use your power up. If it's a single boss, you can take them out with just your knife, really, or 2 or 3 shots with the bow. That's gonna do it for me, and I'll see you in the next one.